Well, welcome back to the Michael Lofton Show. I'm surprised that I'm now doing a third video on this topic. There has been yet another attempt at attacking a priest during a mass. Again, third time I'm doing a video on something like this in 1 week. I've been warning people that these attacks are going to continue to increase in frequency. And we're seeing that today. This time, this concerns a potential stabbing in Winnipeg. The priest was able to avoid being stabbed, but was very close. He was also fortunate that there was an off duty police officer available to immediately apprehend the issue. There is video footage that I'm going to show you. We're going to talk about it, as well as the other two attacks that have occurred in the last week, in case you have not been following the situation. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's take a look at what is going on here. This is video footage from church surveillance from a Catholic church in Winnipeg. Here you could see the priest on the left and the attacker on the right. Let's see what goes on here. Let me also make sure that you can hear that audio. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, let's see that again. Going to mute it this time and talk a little bit over it. Priest is going around the altar, all of a sudden sees the attacker, who does make an attempt at stabbing him, but the priest was able to evade him. And did you see he then puts the knife there, stabs the altar with the knife, and then goes and casually sits down. Now, immediately you can see this off-duty police officer flashing his badge, and then he tells the person, "You're under arrest," and takes him to jail. And that is just quick. I mean, look how fast this happened. Within a matter of seconds, the police officer is up there arresting the individual. It's fortunate that the priest was able to avoid the stabbing and that the police officer was there immediately to apprehend the individual. But of course, there have been cases where, the priest wasn't so fortunate and there weren't off-duty police officers, and things ended very, very differently. This is absolutely wild because, again, it is the third attack within a week. There's a little bit of information about this. This is from CTV News. Off-duty RCMP detains man who tried to stab pastor during service at Winnipeg church. And so it says a Winnipeg man has been charged after allegedly trying to stab a pastor during a service at a North End church. I don't know why it's always alleged, because it's very clear in the video he did try to stab him. There's no alleged here. Police say they were called Sunday at 6 p.m. to a church at Selkirk Avenue. The Archdiocese of Winnipeg confirmed the incident happened at Holy Ghost Parish. Officers arrived to learn a 50-year-old man armed with a knife approached the altar during a service and went at a 38-year-old pastor. According to the police, the suspect attempted to assault him, but the pastor managed to escape unharmed. As the suspect approached the pastor, luckily, he was able to see this, whether he saw that he had a knife or his sixth sense kicked in, and he was able to avoid getting assaulted by the suspect. Stephen Spencer, public information officer with the Winnipeg Police Service, said. So the pastor actually ended up running off stage. Officers say the suspect then stabbed the knife into the altar and sat down in a chair at the back of it, which I don't know why he just did that. I don't know why he didn't try to run, or I don't know what was going on in this person's mind, but it was very weird that, okay, he misses him, he doesn't chase after the priest, and then he just goes, stabs the altar, and sits down. Like, what? I don't know. Okay. But hey, that's the best thing that could happen in this situation, because it was very easy to then arrest him. So, an off-duty RMCP member, with help from other church attendees, detained the suspect until the police arrived. Spencer said it was one of the best outcomes for a situation like this, and no one was hurt. True. Very true. He says, I've been on 23 years, and this is the first I've seen of this type of incident in a church, so it's quite different for sure, and quite alarming, he said. A 50-year-old man was charged with several offenses, including assault with a weapon. Spencer said they do not have any information about a motive at this point, which is what they tend to say initially, and then it always comes back a few days later that the motive is the person is mentally ill, every single time. After speaking with the pastor, it doesn't appear this has anything to do with conflict with the church. The pastor has no memory of ever seeing the suspect before, Spencer said, and he didn't know him to be a member of the congregation. It did seem to be quite a random fact. The Archdiocese of Winnipeg said in a statement, it is aware of the incident, the man who has been taken into custody, and we await a judge's ruling. We are grateful that no one was hurt. Another report adds to this just a little bit more information. Let's go to it. The man was detained in custody, and Spencer said the man is known to police from past incidents. Known to police from past incidents. Sound familiar? Well, it should. Because in the case of the man who assaulted a priest here in Spokane, Washington, earlier this week, in that case that I covered in a previous video, you remember this individual is sitting in the front row, runs up, punches the priest in the face. There's a bishop right next to him. He was then tackled, wrestled to the ground, and arrested, waiting to see a judge, I think this Thursday, being charged with trespassing and assault. Well, in that particular case, we found out this individual not only is mentally ill, as they say, evidently he was suffering from schizophrenia and other issues. They also say that this person has had a history of assaulting individuals. Specifically, there was a person that he assaulted at a mental institution. So they say this person has had a history with violent offenses. Now, we're hearing that in this particular case of the man who attempted to stab the Winnipeg priest, that he also has a history of some sorts. They don't say if it's a history of violent crimes, but they say it is a person who is known for past incidents. They don't specify what kind, but I wonder if they are similar to this kind. It comes on the heels of not only that attack that we saw in Washington, but also a man attacking the altar at one of the most important churches in the world, St. Peter's Basilica, where a man stood on top of the altar, desecrated the altar, kicked the candlesticks down, and kicked the cloth off the altar, and was shortly after that apprehended by security guards. You can see it here. So I covered that one in another video as well. Y'all are welcome to go and watch all of those. In fact, I did a follow-up video to not only that incident, but the incident in Washington, because there was some follow-up information about them. In this particular case with the Vatican, it said that that man too was deemed to be mentally ill. And in the follow-up video, I said, well, I wonder if that's true. Maybe it is. But I also wonder if sometimes people are dismissing that there could be problems of a spiritual nature as well. So something to consider. But again, the news today about this attack on the priest in Winnipeg seems awfully similar to the other two attacks that we've seen in the last week. And it seems to be from persons who are known for previous incidents with law enforcement. So, bringing it back full circle, as I have said many other times, people, you need to be prepared. I think there will continue to be more and more attacks, and you should be prepared to defend yourself, and more importantly, your family. And incidents can happen out of nowhere. You're likely not going to see it coming. So you need to be prepared for it at all times. Fortunately, in these cases, nobody was significantly hurt. In the case of the Winnipeg priest, he wasn't hurt at all, fortunately. But we have seen other instances where perhaps a bishop has had his eye stabbed, and others who have been even more unfortunate to sustain greater attacks. And so it doesn't always end well, as some of these attacks have in the last week. So be prepared. Anyways, I want to bring this to your attention. I also want to bring to your attention a video that I just posted earlier today, engaging James White, the Protestant, on the question of papal infallibility in light of Pope Francis's letter to the United States bishops, which I reviewed yesterday. But I reviewed James White's thoughts on that incident, where he attempts to argue that this is an instance that falsifies papal infallibility. Take a look at it if you haven't seen it already. I put a link to that one in the show notes. Go and check it out. I would greatly appreciate your support also of the channel. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, take a look at the GoFundMe link that I'm putting in the show description. Go and support that if you want to see more in-person interviews on the Michael Lofton Show. I need some assistance in flying people out to Monroe, Louisiana, in getting a studio set up for those in-person interviews, as well as studio equipment. So if you are interested in seeing more in-person interviews, if that's something that you would like here on this channel, consider supporting that fund. Again, it's the GoFundMe link that I'm putting in the show notes. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. See you tomorrow. God bless. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/Reason and Theology.